Our paths would have crossed. You have no reason to know that. I was just a young kid in 1965 in Jamestown watching you,
Okay.
Ken McGowan,
Yeah.
and George Corrence, and,
Oh, yeah.
and George Gamelch and guys like that.
Yeah.
And then my daughter, Amy Peterson, she was the assistant general counsel for the Tigers for
Yeah.
many, many years when you were there,
Right.
and worked with Dave Dombrowski very closely.
Yeah.
So our paths, and
Yeah.
other than hi, how are you, I would have greeted
Right.
you, but that
Right.
they crossed.
Right.
And,
Yeah. Well, good.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I just if focus for us. We're so proud that you played in Jamestown, New York, Jamestown Falcons, and are in Cooperstown. And one of the things we don't know that much about, other than a little bit about, your early days,
Yeah.
and about how you even connected with the Tigers.
Well, I signed with the Tigers in the fall of '63. Went to my first spring in '64, and I played in Lakeland and over in Cocoa Beach, the rookie league a little bit, and then Lakeland, Florida State League. But in 1965, I came to Jamestown with Gail Henley, and Jerry Klein was a long-time famous name up there. He was our clubhouse man, and so I played there in 1965. And really enjoyed it. It was different because it was a full season then. I think we played 140 games or something. So we went up there when the weather was still pretty cool, obviously coming out of spring training. But I loved Jamestown. It was great. It was a great place. They had the old hotel downtown. We had myself and I think 2 or 3 other guys, we had a house out on Lake Chautauqua that we rented for the summer. And it was beautiful out there, So it was a great place to play, and I can remember I didn't play all the time. We had another catcher named Carl Solaric who was pretty good, and so it ended up. I can remember this like it was yesterday. It ended up we traveled by station wagon in those days. We didn't travel by the bus. We took a station wagon, and I used to get assigned to drive one of the wagons. The manager drove one. I think that maybe somebody, I forget who else drove it, and then I drove one of the cars. And I can remember we always had to be careful coming home late at night from our road trips and that because of the deer running all over the place. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was brutal. They had the grape vineyards up there, and we'd always laugh about it because we'd see deer all the time, and it was dangerous, really. Sure. But no, I loved the league. We went up to Wellsville. We went to Binghamton in those days. We went to Geneva. It was great. Batavia. It was a good league. In fact, in 1965, Manny Sanguillen was a catcher for Batavia. And we played against each other, and Manny and I last year went in the Pirates Hall of Fame together.
Oh, my gosh.
But he had obviously a great career, a totally different type career than I had. But no, there was some good players in that league. It was a great place to play. A little cold in the spring, but great place. I think the park actually was located in Faulkner, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that you mentioned was Jerry Klein. We've had other people who played around with Jerry Klein. They all have great stories about him.
Oh, yeah.
So what was your sense of Jerry?
Jerry was he was very close to the general manager of the Tigers, Jim Campbell. Mm-hmm. Jim Campbell took a liking to him, and Jerry was in spring training every year, kind of as a all-purpose guy. Drove the bus to take the guys up to see the shows in Lakeland, the Polk Theater. He'd drive the bus. He'd drive the bus every Sunday to take the guys to church, and he was kind of an all-purpose guy and a real character, and everybody loved him. Very witty, very quick on his feet, and always had a cigar in his mouth. Right. And his language wasn't the best, to be honest with you, but he was quite the character.
And did he have a restaurant? I mean, here's a picture of Jerry that's in,
That's Jerry.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That's him. He was a character.
And all the people who I've interviewed, when you mention him, they mention his singing abilities or lack thereof. But he would sing.
Oh, he would sing all the time. He didn't sing too good. Yeah. But he would sing all the time. He was just one of those guys. You don't see much of that anymore in baseball. You don't really see the Excuse me one second.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, honey. Hi. What's up? Well, I'm doing an interview, but what's up? Okay.
I just want to tell you that Ryan's 100% not flying home with us from Cooperstown. So if Tony wants to fly, there's a spot.
Okay, honey. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye. You know, you don't really see that much of that old type characters. There were so many characters in baseball in the old days.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't really see that much anymore, but I'm sure like the modern day managers have clubhouse guys that they're probably characters and everything, but you don't hear about it much. But Jerry was he was almost like a legend in the Tiger organization.
Mm-hmm.
All the players that went through him one time or another, so he touched a lot of players over the years. I mean, he was involved. Being the clubhouse guy for so many different players that went up to the big leagues and some that didn't, obviously, like me. And but just a great person, funny, like you say, sang a little bit. I never knew Jerry to drink, and that was funny because he sang a lot, but I never knew Jerry to take a drink. I never saw Jerry Klein take a drink in my life. Yeah. So I mean, he was sober when he was singing, Yeah. But just one of the great guys. In fact, I became very close with Jerry, and I forget what year it was, but we were in winter ball, and we were on a fishing pier in Clearwater fishing for trout. And when we were coming off the pier, Jerry had a heart attack.
Oh, golly.
And I was right there, and it was sad. I mean, his color changed real fast and everything. I actually rode in the ambulance with him to the hospital, and he survived that one. And it wasn't too long after that he passed away. But yeah, I was very close to Jerry. I used to go fishing with him all the time in winter ball, and just a great guy. He was an old-fashioned baseball guy.
I think I had 10 guys I interviewed variously who played back in the 50s and 60s, and they always the same song. You kept a secret from me. You threw a curveball that broke like a bomb, all this stuff. And they sang it all from memory 50 years later. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, he impacted a lot of guys, and he was a true character, but one of those guys that you'll never forget.
Yeah.
Once you met him, you never forgot him. Yeah. That's the way Jerry was.
Now, your 65 season wasn't the whole team was not very stellar. It didn't. A lot of your win-loss wasn't that well.
Right.
Yeah. But I was reading George's book, which talks about your buddy George. In fact, talk about George Gamelsch.
Well, George was a little different. Mm-hmm. He was a pretty good player, actually. Left-hand hitting first baseman, and very bright, very smart. The smartest guy on the team without question. Intellect was above the charts. He was just that kind of guy. He was a very, very brilliant guy, really, and really a good guy. Got along with everybody and everything. But you could tell his mental furniture was a little notch above everybody else's. He was pretty smart.
George, in his book, he talks. Because he kept a diary.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you read the book.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and you're part of some of that, and one of them is the hazing of lifting.
Yeah.
Well, could you explain that?
Well, yeah, it was kind of like an initiation, like they had, and I guess you couldn't do it today, in today's world probably, but it was where it talked about this guy could lift up 3 guys or something. They put one guy in the middle, and then they interlocked him so he couldn't get out, and then they doused analgesic bomb and powder and everything on him and everything, and you couldn't get away with that today.
Yeah.
You'd probably get in trouble for that. But that was one of the things. That was one of the big things. That was like an initiation into pro ball. Somebody got sucked into it, at one point or another, and I was fortunate enough to see it happen. The first time I saw it, fortunately it was somebody else, so I never fell for it, obviously, but that was just one of the fun things in those days. And kind of like an initiation into pro ball.
Yeah, I have that with fraternities and things like that. You were also part of probably the longest baseball game ever in the New York Penn League. It was in Binghamton, right?
It wasn't in Binghamton. It was in Jamestown.
Was it in Jamestown? Okay.
It was in Jamestown. We played 21 innings.
Oh my gosh.
In fact, my parents were there. It was about the only time they saw me play. I pinch hit in that game. It went 21 innings. It was against the Binghamton Yankees. I think the score ended up 5-4 or 6-5. And I remember I pinch hit in the 8th inning with the bases loaded and struck out. And that game went on, and that was in the 8th inning because it was a 7-inning game. It was the first game of a doubleheader.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And that game went 21 innings.
Oh my gosh.
And then a curfew, I think, we had to stop.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget a little left-hand pitcher. His name was Wes Ray. I think it was spelled R-A-E, maybe. And he was pitching for Birmingham. In the 8th inning, I pinch hit with the bases loaded and struck out. And if I'd have hit a sacrifice fly or something, we would have won the game. The game would have been over, and we'd have saved ourselves about 14 innings, 13 innings, you know. But that's the way it was.
Then did you go into catch then after that?
No.
No.
I did not go into catch. I just pinch hit, and I believe I was out of the game.
That makes for a long day.
Yeah.
Your manager was Gail Henley.
Gail Henley. Yeah.
What was he like?
Great guy, really great guy. Later on, scouted for the Dodgers. In fact, I saw him when I ended up managing the big leagues. Later on, Gail was still scouting, and I would run into him once in a while, and we'd laugh about old times. Yeah, I played for him in 1965. Just a really good baseball guy, good man. I played for Al Federoff the year before in Lakeland, and then Gail took me to Jamestown with him, and everybody loved him. He was just a good guy, old school baseball guy, just kind of hard-nosed a little bit, but great. You know, he was great to play for. You know, he taught you about baseball. He broke you in as a professional. You know, just, you know, he did an excellent job. Our team really wasn't that good. Carl Soleric was pretty good. He was the catcher. We thought he'd end up in the big leagues, which he did not, but George Corrence was on that team who ended up pitching in the big leagues. But we didn't have many big leaguers.
From growing up in Perrysburg, Ohio, I drive by it every time I go to Detroit. Was being part of the Tigers, was that your team growing up?
No, I was an Ohio boy growing up in Perrysburg, and my brothers, there was 5 boys in my family and 2 girls. I had 2 sisters and 4 brothers, 5 boys count myself. And they were all, my younger brothers, both of them were Tiger fans. Mm-hmm. My older brother and I were Cleveland fans, Cleveland Indian fans. You know, I can still remember in 1954 the Cleveland team, Luke Easter and Al Rosen and all those guys, Bobby Avila, maybe George Strickland or Carrascal, I'm not sure. Jim Hegan was a catcher. I remember Larry Doby. So I remember that team. That was my team. And so I was a Cleveland Indian fan growing up, but my younger brothers were both Tiger fans.
How did you become a Tiger?
Well, I signed shortly after high school with Detroit, and you know, they always needed, I was a catcher, so they always needed extra catchers in spring training because pitchers throw a lot. You have so many pitchers that they have to throw a lot, so they always need guys warming up pitchers and stuff. So I was a catcher and got signed. I played in Legion Ball, and I played in some tournaments prior to signing where the scouts saw me, and you know, they gave me an opportunity to sign. I remember as if it was yesterday. It was in September of '63. I signed for no bonus and $400 a month. This was before the draft. The draft didn't start till 1965. I signed in the fall of '63. So I signed for no bonus at all and $400 a month. And, you know, it was great. I went to spring training, and one thing I always kind of had a pretty good sense of what was going around me, and when I saw some of the players in spring training that first spring, I knew that I wasn't going to play in the big leagues. I could see the competition within the organization, plus, you know, I could see that wasn't going to happen, you know. But, you know, I made a team every year for 7 years. Some manager, you know, I caught a lot in the bullpen. I threw batting practice, and I ended up playing a lot. in some cases, in some years. But I knew that I had no chance to be a major league player.
Back to 65, our reporter was a guy named Frank Hyde.
I remember Frank Hyde.
Yeah, and Frank...
Was he crippled?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And he was a wrestler, but he got hurt. He had a limp.
Yeah.
And for years. And so one of the things we did, we found just recently, a year ago, were pictures he took in down in Tigertown.
Oh, okay.
Of your team.
Yeah.
And I wondered if some of those pictures, as you're flipping through them...
yeah, there's Sonny Newton, Wayne Redmond. Yeah, I remember a lot of these guys. There's Gail Henley, George Corrance. I'm not sure who that one guy is. Yeah, I remember these guys. Sonny Newton was one of my roommates. And there's Frank Carswell. He was managing, I think, maybe AAA at the time. I'm looking here. I don't... I recognize most of these guys. There's Henley, there's Al Fedorov. And Fedorov was my first manager. There's a picture of me with Gene Voss. I'm holding my catcher's glove out there. I got that picture actually at home yet, in my den with my memorabilia. I still have that picture. Yeah, I remember this very, very well. There's another copy of that same picture. Yeah, this brings back a lot of memories. These guys, Wayne Redmond was, he was the big prospect at that time. You know, he went on to Montgomery and hit some home runs. He never really made it big, but he was one guy that was really touted as a guy that was going to probably go on to be a big league player for a long time.
Then you stayed in on the lake. Was it near Bemis Point?
Can't answer that. I don't remember Bemis Point.
Yeah.
Well, it was like a cottage house out on the lake, right on Lake Chautauqua.
Right.
And we met some people that had a boat, and they would take us water skiing once in a while on Lake Chautauqua. We would go out once in a great while, not too often. I was never very good at it, okay, but not very good at it. But, we enjoyed it out there. And then I think there was a place you took a ferry over to the surf club over maybe in Erie or close to Erie or something.
On your way to Erie, yeah. The Bemis Point area, there was a ferry that connected Stowe on one side and Bemis Point on the other.
Yeah. There was a place over there called the Surf Club we went to once in a while.
And the casino, those were two of the big time.
The what?
Surf Club and the casino.
Yeah, I don't remember that. But it was great. I loved it there. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed Jamestown.
They said George was talking about occasionally you would have house parties at your lake house.
Oh yeah, we always had parties. Had the guys out and had gals would come out. Yeah, we had some parties out there. Not too many though. People. Sometimes the stories get a little exaggerated as they get older.
Sure, yeah.
But we were young guys playing ball, and we'd have people out once in a while, and get a keg of beer and maybe some ribs or something, and we had a good time.
Did the scouts come down through at that time? Because were you Class A at the time or Class D? Do you remember?
No, that's a great question. I want to say everything turned to Class A about that time, but it was like low A like it is today. But it was equivalent, I think, at one time to D-ball.
Right, exactly.
And I'm not sure when that changed, but it did change.
Yeah.
Those classifications, they used to have A, B, and all that kind of stuff. They don't have that anymore.
Did the scouts come through? Did you have batting scouts? Did you have roving scouts? Was that?
Yes, you didn't. Gail didn't have a coach that coached every day with him, as I didn't either when I started managing the minors. You were by yourself. Mm-hmm. But every month, maybe a guy would come in, a general hitting coach would come in and look at the players, and every month the pitching coach would come in and look at the players and stay a few days, maybe one time through the rotation for 5 days or something to see all the starters. So there were guys that showed up from time to time, but back in those days, you were pretty much by yourself as a manager. Now these guys got all kind of coaches. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's changed totally. You know?
Right. You clearly a skill set was developed when you were, in the minor leagues, and you were talking about the fact that just observing how players play and things like that, and certainly there's a reputation of catchers being good managers.
Right.
Do you believe that? I mean, do you believe that?
I do.
Yeah.
I think there's something to it. Yeah, you're involved in the game so much, calling pitches, and plus you can see everything, how your infielders move, how your outfielders move. And you learn a little bit about handling pitching because you're a catcher, obviously. So you're catching pitches all the time, and you can pretty much tell the guys that can pitch and the guys that can't. I think there's something to it. I mean, you don't have to be a catcher, obviously, to be a good manager, but I think there's something to it.
Right. I'm looking at my notes here, and the last game, or one of the last games of the 1965 season, George was talking about it was cold, it was rainy. You started a fire in the dugout. Do you have any remembrances of doing that?
I don't remember that, to be honest with you. No, I'm sure that happened. That's probably true.
Yeah.
But I do not. I don't quite recollect that, to be honest with you.
One of the other things in reading the 65 year was the last year Jamestown had a long relationship with the Tigers.
Yes.
Long. It goes back to Frank Larry, Frank Bowling,
right.
all of those guys.
Yeah, Jim Rooker and those guys.
Exactly. And 65 was the last year of the relationship because it wasn't a particularly good team, but Ralph Snyder kind of came and got reamed out by the local ownership, interestingly enough. You gave us a not a terrific team. And that was it. Do you have a sense of the relationship that last year? Was it starting to sour between the ownership and the
I don't really remember that. That would have been above my area at the time. Obviously, I was just a young kid playing, so I don't really remember that, to be honest with you. I didn't even realize that till you just said that was the last year. Mm-hmm. I didn't really realize that, but it was. You're right, it was. But I don't really remember any inner workings with the front office of the Tigers or Jamestown, how all that works. I don't know if we went to Statesville, maybe, North Carolina or someplace, but I didn't really realize that was the last year of Jamestown.
And then it came back later on in time. With the Tigers came back to Jamestown. Your relationship with Dave Dombrowski. David, just a little background. David and I became friends only because I was an attorney, him an attorney in Jamestown. The Montreal Expos were in Jamestown.
Right.
And he was the assistant general manager. We played golf.
Right.
So it sort of morphed over time, but your world and his, the Marlins, and then of course with the Tigers.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people don't realize that's not where our relationship started.
Ah.
Our relationship started when I was coaching with the White Sox. Dave was a young executive with the White Sox.
Yes, I forgot.
And he was just learning. He was on his way up, and that was my first major league job. After 18 straight years in the minors, I got the job coaching third for the White Sox. Well, Dave Dombrowski was a young executive at the time. I'm not sure if he was farm director or assistant farm director, but it was one of those things. And he had gone out with the scouts and learned how to scout and learned what players looked like. Very brilliant man, just very brilliant. So I actually got to know Dave when I was with the White Sox. And then later on, we both went to the big leagues in different directions, obviously. But when I was managing the Pirates, I competed against Dave at Montreal. So we played against each other a lot. And then when he got the Florida job, and then I left Pittsburgh and went with him to Florida after 11 years with the Pirates. So Dave and I actually go back to 1982.
Right.
Not just later on in the big leagues.
Again, personal. I went to the 7th game down in Florida as a guest. Got Dave Dombrowski's tickets.
Okay.
Turned out he had bought the tickets, and his friend, who was coming to the 7th game, couldn't go.
Okay.
I was in town. He goes, "Would you like to go to have my seats?" Of course. I'm sitting next to Huizinga. I mean, for a kid, I'm
right.
I'm above my pay grade. And so it was literally on the field when you were doing all of that.
Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
unbelievable moment in time.
Yeah.
So proud to have been there. But that was just a Dombrowski moment, and then of course he goes to Detroit, and
Yeah.
then you follow that. Was that a logical step there?
Well, not really. I mean, I left Colorado. I thought I probably wasn't going to manage again, and I actually went to work for the Cardinals for 6 years as a scout. I went to spring training and helped Tony La Russa out with the Cardinals, hit fungos and did some stuff for him, and went to every game, watched every game, and then after about 4 years, I started to maybe get the itch a little bit to manage again, but I didn't know anything was going to open up. And then at the end of 2005, they let Alan Trammell go, who's one of my great friends and still is. I just talked to him this morning. And Dave called me and asked me if I was ready to get back in. I said, yeah, I think I am. And he said, well, come on up to Detroit. I want to interview you. We'll talk. We'll meet with Al Kaline and Willie Horton. And so I said, okay. So I drove up to Detroit, and I ended up getting the job. And it was nice for me because here I signed with the Tigers as a kid in 1963, but I didn't get to Detroit until 2006. That's a long time, So it was a great reunion with Dave.
Did the owner, of course, was Mike Ilitch.
Oh, great. He was great.
Talk to me about Mike Ilitch.
I love Mike Ilitch. He wasn't afraid to spend to go out and get a player. He was the most passionate owner I've ever been around. We wanted to win one so bad for him, and obviously we came close. We won 2 American League pennants, but we faltered in the World Series. But he was absolutely terrific. He never, ever called me and got on me or bothered me or interfered with who's playing and who's not playing. He never did any of that. He was just, he was the owner. He let you do your job, and if you did your job good enough, he kept you. If you didn't, he wasn't afraid to get rid of you. So I had a great relationship with him. Never socialized with him, obviously. That was a whole different level for him and me. But I did talk to him a few times over the years, but not very much. Maybe during the course of the season, I might talk to Mr. Ilitch 2 or 3 times a whole year.
Yeah. You may or may not know this, but in 1952, Mike Ilitch played in Jamestown.
I do know that. He was a little infielder, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, there's a picture of him up in Tiger Stadium, Comerica Park, and I think that picture was when he played at Jamestown. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I found that in an archive. They had 1 year of baseball cards.
Uh-huh.
The little big Mike Ilitch found it,
Yeah.
blew it up, gave it to him. He went crazy. He just he didn't think anybody had ever had such a thing.
Yeah. I know that picture exactly because it's in one of the suites up in Detroit, Comerica Park.
Yeah. I got to ask you about one thing, 'cause just in doing a little bit of preparation for today is you uniquely were having an argument, and I know you had very few arguments with umpires, but you had one where all of a sudden the 7th inning, the singing of God Bless America came, and you took off your hat and paid attention and then presumed it. Could you talk a little bit about that crazy scene?
Yeah, I was pretty upset, obviously, at the home plate umpire, Jim. I'm trying to think of his last name now. I know him real well, good umpire. And, I was pretty upset. And then, of course, you pay your respects to God Bless America, but I was still pretty hot after the song was over. I put my hat back on, so we went back at it and argued some more. And, of course, I got ejected. But, a lot of people remind me of that. They think it was funny, but when you're just reacting. You're not trying to be funny. You're not, you're upset about a call, and that's the way that was. But a lot of people got a kick out of that one. That was one of their favorite ejections of mine, I guess, over the years.
Well, it made for good visuals, if nothing else.
Right.
Yeah. Is it you knew you were, Dan are giving you a heads up that we'd talk a little bit about Jamestown here today. Is there a question I should be asking you about that early days of time period, a memory that you thought, gee, I wonder if Greg's going to ask that question?
No, I don't think so. I just, I remember, I still remember most of the players. I have a pretty good memory when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I do remember that we weren't too good that year, and it was just one of those things as it happens with the minor leagues. But no, I don't think there's anything that you missed.
Well, I'm sure I did when I drive back home here. But I send greetings from all of us from the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, and I do want to get a picture of this autographed jersey, so we'll put it right up there because
Okay.
you fit in the category of a Nellie Fox and a Gary Carter and a Randy Johnson as those who played in Jamestown and are in Cooperstown.
Well, I'm proud of that, and thank you very much, and I enjoyed it, and I'm those guys were a little bit different. I'm a big believer that the Hall of Fame is for players, but Randy Johnson and Gary Carter are two former Jamestown players that a little more important than I am, but that's okay. I'm very proud of that. I was just elected into the Marlins Hall of Fame, and last year the Pirates Hall of Fame and the Tigers Hall of Fame, along with Cooperstown. So it wasn't a bad run for a guy that wasn't a real good player.
Do you reflect on that at all? I mean, just sort of life's serendipity,
Well, I got to be honest. I do pinch myself once in a while when I think about Cooperstown, and especially now. My wife and I were talking about it last night because I'm getting ready to go to Cooperstown this week for the induction ceremony for Ishiro and the group that's getting in this year. So, I'm reflecting back on last year and the fact that I got in, and all the Hall of Famers said, "Well, it'll be more relaxing for you this year because you don't have to worry about your speech and all that," But yeah, I do think about it, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie about it. It's not that I'm gloating about it or anything like that, but I do, things run through my mind sometimes about, you're in the Hall of Fame at Cooperstown. That's hard for me to believe.
I don't even know the answer to the question. What hat did you wear?
I just wore a Hall of Fame hat.
Did you?
Yeah, because I didn't really think. It was kind of a no-brainer. It wasn't obviously going to be Colorado. And we won the World Series of Florida, but I was only there a couple of years. I was in Pittsburgh 11 years. They gave me my first chance. But I signed originally with the Tigers and got back to manage there, and we won 2 pennants there. So, and the other thing that a lot of people don't know is that the Hall of Fame dictates now what hat you wear. You used to have a choice of what hat, but now the Hall of Fame makes that decision. So we talked about it, and my good friend Tony La Russa, who went in 2014, he did the same thing. He didn't have one team because he was with the Oakland A's and the St. Louis Cardinals. So I didn't want to be disrespectful to anybody, to be honest with you. I think, some people were upset that I didn't wear the Tiger hat or the Pirate hat, but most people understood that it was, and the final decision lies with the Hall of Fame.
Interesting. Also, on reflection, I mean, you've been in the game since the 60s. Much has changed. Even now
Right.
with the potential of having robots call balls and strikes.
Right.
And replay and things like that. Do you reflect on whether that change, those technology, the introduction of technology is for the good or?
No, I think it's good. I think it's 2025. And everybody talks about, the different things that have come out, all the technology and some of the new equipment, and but when you look back at it, like I do, and this is how I try to look at it, at one time, many, many years ago, the pitching machine was a new thing. The iron mic was technology. That somebody come up with a machine that threw the ball like an arm. So that's been going on for many, many years. So it's just another phase of moving forward in the technology. I think a lot of it is good. I think there's plenty of room for it. I think that they talk about the analytics in today's game. I think the analytics is, I think it's just a fancy word for information. Mm-hmm. When they say analytics, I think it scares a lot of old baseball people, but it's really a form of information. And the more information you get, you dissect that information, and you see what part of that information helps us win games, helps us find better players, helps us develop better players. So there's something to it. But I think when they put the word analytics on it, I think it scared a lot of people off.
My daughter Amy's office was right next to Al Kaline's. Al Kaline, Amy Peter.
Right.
And I always thought that was a thrill for her. She was there for 11 years. Did you reflect on Al being part of the baseball operation, aside from a great ball player, but just helping the Tigers?
Well, Al was one of the most popular Tigers ever, obviously. They call him Mr. Tiger. So he never butted in. He never tried to stick his nose in other people's business. He was just there to help. He was a very low-key guy, almost a little bit shy, to be honest with you. And Al and I were very, very close because I was just a kid back in the 60s. Al was playing, and I got to know Al. He always treated me with the utmost respect. Even when I was a young manager in the Tiger organization, I used to go over and throw batting practice for the big club, and Al would always treat me like I was a big league guy, which I wasn't. And it's funny, we became very close. I'll never forget this. When it was nearing the end, he was in spring training, and he was going to go home. He was going to go home early. And he asked me, he said, could you have dinner with me and Louise tonight downtown at the Terrace Hotel in Lakeland? And I said, absolutely. So I went downtown, had dinner with him, and we had a wonderful evening, telling old stories and laughing about old times and everything. And we were staying at the same hotel in spring training. So when we got back to the hotel, and him and Louise were going their way, and I was going to my room, Al came over and gave me a big hug. And he said, thanks for being my friend. I'll never forget that. And he went home and died shortly after that. And I knew he was saying goodbye. You know.
What a memory. Similarly, Willie Horton is the other notable who's been there forever. Was his role the same, or was it the same?
Yeah, pretty much the same as Al. Willie was another guy that he was so good to the young players in the Tigers minor league system and everything. And when he was a player, him and Frank Howard used to cook steaks down at the Holiday Inn. They had a grill down there, and they cooked steaks down there on a night every once in a great while, not all the time, but once in a great while. And he would invite some of the minor league guys down there to eat and everything. He knew that they, didn't get much meal money and everything. He had a cafeteria where you ate, but Willie was absolutely fantastic. A true Tiger, obviously, just a great representative of the organization for so many years, and was involved in the minor leagues and was just always there to help. He was always there to give you some of his experiences and things that might help you later on, But I'll never forget him and Frank Howard, inviting minor league guys over there for a steak, come on, get a good meal, and hang out with the big league players a little bit. I'll never forget that. And, I like I said, I got a pretty good memory on stuff like that, and Willie was absolutely great.
You're amazing. So you're here today in Erie, Pennsylvania. Are you on assignment, if you will?
I am.
Yeah. Are you looking at certain people today?
I'm looking at everybody, but yeah, we just brought 3 of our really top prospects in all of baseball to Erie: Brasino, McGonigal, and Clark. And they all just joined the Erie team. They had been in West Michigan. So I live in Pittsburgh, and I knew they had a day game today. I was here earlier, but those guys were still in West Michigan. So I came up here today. I talked to Scott Harris, our president, on the way up here. I come up today just to kind of get a peek at them and see how they're adjusting to Double-A, a little higher level, and things of that nature. But they're 3 of the top prospects in all of baseball.
Right. Do they? I don't want to ask any trade secrets, but literary trade. As we get to the trade deadline, do they bring you in at all, Jim? As far as thoughts?
No. They could possibly if it was somebody that I saw a lot or something like that. But no, I don't really have any privy to that information. I don't stick my nose in it. I don't ask any questions. Scott Harris is very close to the vest, which I really respect. I'm sure there's a very small group, and I mean very small, probably group of people that know what's going on in that area, but I don't ask about it. If he mentioned it to me, that's different. And I have a great relationship with him. He's very young, I'm very old, but we think a lot alike.
Yeah.
He's much smarter than I am. He's into some of the new stuff more so than I am, but we have a kind of a similar opinion when we look at players,
Yeah.
which is very interesting, and I really like it. I think he's doing a tremendous job. He's brilliant. He's very smart.
Likewise, does AJ reach out at all for just comment?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Occasionally. Not a lot. I think AJ's probably the best manager in the American League right now. I believe that. He's another guy that's very bright. He was a psychology major at Stanford. He's very smart. I think he uses that along with his baseball instincts to manage, and I think he's done an unbelievable job with the Tigers. So every now and then he'll reach out and mention something, and once in a while in spring training we have conversations in his office, but it's not my show anymore, and I don't push myself on anybody. If he asks me something, I give him my opinion. But AJ's really on top of stuff. He really doesn't need a lot of help. But every once in a while, he'll reach out and maybe present a question or present a situation. How would you handle this? Yeah, he's been great.
Can you crystal ball the Tigers, not only, I don't want to say this year, but just kind of where they are in the...
Well, they're in very good shape. They got a really good team at the right age right now in the major leagues, and they got a lot more guys coming. Our farm system has picked up. But you still have to do it, I mean, we're sitting in a good spot right now. We've actually lost 6 in a row, but we're still got an 11-game lead in that division, and we're going to get rolling again. There's no doubt in my mind. This is a very good team that could go a long way, particularly with an ace like they have in Skubal at the top of the rotation. That's a pretty good way to start the postseason when you can pitch somebody like that. So, I think AJ's handled it very good. I mean, don't put the cart before the horse. Let's stay humble, stay hungry, and I think that's the way to go about it because I know through experience, won a World Series, lost a couple of World Series, so the postseason is a totally different animal. You never know what's going to happen, but I certainly assume that we're going to get to the postseason this year, and then it's just a matter of you play good at the right time. The 2 World Series we were in the Tigers, we didn't hit anything. Our offense was totally stale, shut down. And so you never know. But the organization's probably in the best shape it's been in a long, long time.
And you're glad to be there?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, I don't really work that hard anymore. I do go to spring training. I see every game in spring training. I go on every trip, except when they go over the other coast. I watch every game, and if they ask me my opinion, I give it. I have some conversations with Scott and AJ in spring training, but they don't need me. They know what they want to do. They know what they're going to do. But Scott's really good about talking to old-time baseball guys about things they see and everything. He's really interested in that. And even though he's into a lot of the new stuff, he still likes opinions of people that have seen a lot of players and managed or whatever, been a hitting coach or whatever it is. So it's worked out great. I really like him a lot, and whether I'm there or not, I mean he's going to be fine. He's really good, and he's got a great manager.
This has been fabulous. I am so thrilled you gave us the time. This will all be part of the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, this is great. I'm going to grab somebody to have you and I take a picture
Okay.
with that, if you don't mind.
You got it.
Yep.